All right, perfect. So we are live, we are recording. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sydney Seymour. I'm the regional technology trainer for the Carolinas region, also a KWU approved instructor and a labs advisor. And I'm really excited to be here with you today. We're going to talk about command for teams, and we're going to talk about specifically opportunities in command for teams. So what I'd love to do just to start us off is if everybody can just open up the chat at the bottom. And just so I have a really clear understanding of the audience, just let me know what kind of team are you on, meaning team members. So what does your team look like? Are you an admin? What's your setup? How many people do you have on the team? Just so we can kind of get a clear understanding of that. So just type in the chat for me. Some of you might be market center leadership. So thanks for jumping on. You're welcome to type that in the chat as well. So just so I can have kind of an understanding of what we're looking at as far as teams. Let's go ahead and just see what we have there. All right. So we've got some awesome Market Center tech trainers. Thank you all for being here to help support your agents. Dolores, thanks for being here. Admin with 10 agents. Lindsay, admin with 9 agents. Thanks for being here. MC Leadership. 3 agents, 4-member team. We've got some 4 agents. Okay, awesome. Thank you all for being here, for spending some time with us today. So we've got a really nice mix of that. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about opportunities. And we're going to talk about, first of all, just some things that you want to do in settings prior to opportunities, just some decisions that you can make as the team before we roll out opportunities. We're going to talk about checklists, and we're going to talk about stages, because that's something that you can use in opportunities that can really help you save some time. And there's some really fantastic features that we have there. We'll talk about how to just create an opportunity. We'll kind of breeze through that because I feel like you probably have a really clear understanding of that. And then we will talk about the discussion tab, which is one of my favorite features that we have in Command for Teams. And then we will also look at, from a Rainmaker's perspective, how they can see really what's happening with the team as far as their pipeline. And then we'll also take a quick glance at reports and understanding where all of those pull from. So if at any time, we'll be together for the next 50 minutes or so. If at any time during this you have any questions, or we want to just stop and kind of pause on something and chat around that, we can absolutely do that. So feel free to either unmute yourself and just ask a question, or we can have a discussion, or I've got the chat also up on my other monitor over here. So I'll just be looking at that throughout the time. So if anybody has any questions, I'd also love if you guys want to use the chat. If all of you, it seems like a lot of you are admin, which I love to have you here. So thank you. So as we're going through something, if you find that I have, a best practice for us on our team is we do it this way, like I'd love for you guys to maybe share some best practices for that, because then at the end of the meeting, you guys can all save the chat. You'll receive it as a download, and you'll have kind of a checklist or a to-do list of some best practices for that. So any questions from anybody before we get started, before we dive in? We're good. It's Teams for Thursday. Let's go. All right. So I am going to share my screen and just pull up. I'm in a demo account today. So we've got no real numbers going on. We've got lots of fake stuff here, just so you guys know. So the first thing that I want to talk about, and I feel as if you guys are probably all very, very familiar with this, but just in case, I want to make sure we're looking at this. We want to make sure that we're looking at a couple things in settings as we are setting everything up, getting ready to work on our opportunities. So to get into settings at any time, we're going to click on the top right, and then you'll see we can toggle between the personal account as well as the team account. So I'm already logged in, I'm in the team account, and then I want to come down here and I just want to click on the gear shift icon, and I'm going to go into settings. So in settings, there's just a couple things that we just want to make sure. Not only, I'm in a Rainmaker account, so some of these we might want to pay attention to in the Rainmaker. Some of them we're also going to pay attention to in the other agents accounts. So buyers agents, listing agents, and I'll call out the differences between those. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look right up here, and we're going to go to general settings. We just want to take a look at the default account. So when I'm having consultations with teams or having conversations with admin or team members, something that I hear a lot is, I just don't even want the other account to even be there or to have an option, right? I want my buyer's agents, I want them to always work out of the team account. I want that to be the default. So this is where we just need to make sure, not only in the Rainmaker account, but perhaps we have our listing agent or buyer's agent, whoever it is, we have them log in and make sure that the one that we want as the team account is what we have set up when we log into Command. Now the personal account is still going to be there. It's just kind of put on hold over to the side. They can toggle between the two at any time, but this just clears up a lot of just some problems we can run into if they're entering contacts into the wrong account, different things like that. So first thing is we want to make sure we're looking at that default account. Now, the other thing that we want to look at, and this we can really only look at under the Rainmaker's account, but we want to make sure we're paying attention to this, is we want to go in and we want to go into command settings, and you only have to do this once, but we want to look at those command settings and we want to look at opportunity settings. And we actually want to look at almost all of these different things here. So the first thing is the client update. So in the opportunities, when we've created checklist, we have a really fantastic feature that allows us to, once something is completed, it's automatically sent as an email to the client of, we've updated all of these things for you. So imagine when you take a listing, if you say the sign was installed, the marketing pieces have been done, the open house has been scheduled, and by you just going in and checking that off, the seller would automatically get a really nice email letting them know what's happening. So what we can decide here are a couple things. Number one, when do we want that email to be sent? So you can decide what time of day you want that email to be sent. So imagine if when your listing specialist or your Rainmaker goes on a listing appointment, they can say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we understand that communication is so important. So every day by 11 a.m., every day that we've completed items on your checklist, you'll receive an automatic email. And then you can come in here and say, excuse me, I want this to be sent every day at 10:30 in the morning or whatever it is. So you can choose that time in which you'd like for that to be sent. The other thing that we want to pay attention to is, who do we want the email to be sent from? Do we want the email to be sent from the owner of the contact, meaning this is my buyer's agent's contact, they own it? Do we want it to come from their account, or do we want it to come from the Rainmaker's account? So you have some teams that might say any marketing, any communication, I don't care who on the team is working the transaction, I want all of that communication to look as if it's coming from the team, where we would pick the Rainmaker account. So you can decide that. The other thing you can decide is, who do we want this to be sent to? So if we have two sellers, do you want it to be sent to both of them? Or do you want it to be sent to just the first person that we've entered as the primary client? And then do you also want it to be sent to anybody that is assigned to that contact? So they just are basically blind copied on that? Or do you want it to be sent to the owner of the contact? So again, this is just a one-time setup that we need to look at for those client update emails. The other thing that we want to make sure we're looking at are opportunity tags. So is there anybody, and you guys can type in the chat or you're welcome to unmute yourself. Is there anybody in here that's using some tags and opportunities that you find are really beneficial in your business and managing it? So nothing yet. So I'll give you guys some, just as I've had consultations, some things that we might want to pay attention to or maybe add. So remember, we have contact tags. So that's where, as we enter a contact, we can associate a tag with them. We also have opportunity tags. So opportunity tags are just specific to the opportunities. And so when we're looking at an opportunity, we have some tags that can be listed right there. Can you guys hear me? It's just saying audio is cutting out periodically. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Bethany, I don't know if you want to leave and rejoin and see if it's something, but I'll make sure that if anybody else can't, please let me know. Thanks for letting me know that. So with tags, some of the tags that I've seen that people are using, having some great success with is, let's say maybe you have a lender that you like to use for most of your business, and you want to tag that this opportunity, we're using this lender or this title company. Maybe you work a lot with new home builders and you want to know that this opportunity, you want to add that tag of whoever that home builder is. A tag that I heard that I love is from a Rainmaker's perspective. So there was a Rainmaker that has a fairly large team, and he kind of just takes a hands-off approach. You're the buyer's agent, you're the listing agent. You know, he's kind of stepped out of his team. He's almost running a 7th level team. Yet he created a tag that he color coded red, that if a agent needs him to pull him into the transaction, essentially if an agent needs his help. And so the name of the tag is just get and then Rainmaker's name involved. And so he understands he can go into opportunities, he can look at it by those tags, and he can kind of see what's going on there. And then we can untag it at any time. Can you give example how you would use Amazon? Oh, remember, I'm in a fake one. So nothing that you're looking at here is real numbers. So I'm in just a fake demo account. So they would have just created for that. But that might be people that work at Amazon, whatever it could be. Yeah. So we can come in and create, so think of tags as opportunities. So we can come in and create those. Now it's important that we're creating them here under the Rainmaker account, because agents on your team can't create their own opportunity tags. They can only use the tags that you as the Rainmaker have created. So we just need to make sure we're coming in here and setting up those tags for them to be able to use. The other thing that we want to make sure that we're really paying attention to here under the opportunity settings are the team permissions. Excuse me. And again, this is a one-time, you'll just have to set this up once, and then it will run the way that you would like for it to run. So under team permissions is where, as the Rainmaker, we can decide, do I want to allow agents to be able to create private opportunities, or do I not? So a private opportunity is a transaction that will close outside of the team. So are you allowing buyer's agents to say, okay, this is my buyer, and I'm not splitting the commission with the team, it's not part of the team, and I'm closing it over here? Or are you saying it doesn't matter what it is, you're on our team, anything that closes, we always want it to be in this pipeline? Most of the time we see that as the case, which is where you would choose no team members can create private opportunities within our market center. Now, you might have the case where you brought in a listing specialist and you had a different team agreement with them, and they are able to create their own opportunities that are outside of the team. You also have the option to come in here and to select agents on your team that you are allowing to have private opportunities, and no member of your team would be privy to that information or be able to see their opportunities for you. So any questions? I'm just going to pause there because I know we went through a fair amount of stuff in settings. So do I have any questions on just the setup of the settings or best practices or anything about that? All right, we're going to keep it moving. You guys are rock stars. So let's move in. We're going to talk about, I actually want to jump over to opportunities, and we're going to talk about opportunity stages and opportunity checklists. So we're going to talk about best practices for those and how to set those up. So I'd love to hear from you guys. And you, again, you can either unmute yourself just while this is loading, or you can type in chat. Is anybody using checklist in opportunities already? Just a quick yes or no in the chat is helpful to me, just so I can kind of see what we're looking at here. So just a yes or no in the chat if you guys are. Okay. You're in the right class then. I'm excited you're here. Checklists are fantastic. So I really think we'll take some time on this, because this is a really, really fantastic feature that you have in opportunities for teams to be able to use in your business. Awesome, you guys. I'm so excited to be able to show this to you. So I jumped over to opportunities. We're now in the opportunities section. So most of you are probably using opportunities to be able to submit everything to the Market Center. You might be using it for DocuSign. So this point might look pretty familiar to you. So we've got your listings that you have here. Then we've got all of your buyers that you have down here. And so this point we might be comfortable with so far. So let's go through, we're going to talk about listings first. And I'm just going to do this for listings. We won't do it for buyers. And while I'm doing this, because I'd love to make this a collaboration, can you guys just type in the chat? Let's think about a checklist and let's talk about the listing under contract. Let's say that we have a listing and the listing goes under contract. Do me a favor and just type, if we were creating a checklist for that stage, what's something that you might want to make sure that was being taken care of? So we've got a listing, it's under contract. So we have a seller and they just went under contract. What are some of the items that we might want to make sure that we're checking off of our list that we're doing with that? Perfect. So have all of the executed documents. We might want to make sure we have the attorney's information. We might want to send the contract to the attorney. I'll just let that chat kind of go. If anybody else wants to drop any other things in there, I'd love to see that because we'll actually create a checklist together for that. So to create a checklist, and again, you just have to do this once, and then it's always going to work for all of your transactions. So I'm going to focus on my listing checklist that are listings that are under contract. That's the checklist that we're going to build together. So to do that, I'm going to click directly on where it says under contract. And then you'll see these are my listings that I have underneath there. Now there's a couple things that we can change here first. So by default, we've set up stages for you that are under the phases here. So we've got the escrow stage, we've got the inspection stage, we've got the appraisal stage, we've got the purchase and sale stage, we've got financing, clear to close.
Get on the team transaction Zoom
here that we created for the Rainmaker that's called Deal is Blowing Up. And so at that point, the Rainmaker can take a look at it. So we can come in here and we can edit these stages. And then that's where we would also add the checklist. So again, today we're going to do a listing that's under contract. We're going to create a checklist together for that. So to do that, we're just going to come right up here. So we have to click into the stage that we want to create the checklist for first. So that's all we've done so far as we went into listing and we're in the under contract stage. And then right up here at the top right, we have edit stages. So we're going to click just right on that edit stage, and then you'll see a box is going to pop up. Now we've added additional stages. Again, I'm in a demo account. So we've added these additional stages here. So we've got escrow, inspections, appraisal, purchase and sale, financing, clear to close, and deal is blowing up. If I wanted to add an additional stage, I'd be able to do that right here. So if you wanted to say, we also have this stage that we really pay attention to on our team and we want to add that, I can do that just by clicking on add stage. I would name the stage, and then what's the probability in the position? The probability means what's the probability of this getting to the closing table? So we have 0% here. You can add whatever the probability is for that. Now that's how we can add a stage. Once we have added a stage, you'll see that we have these checklist items right here. So I'm just going to go based off of escrow, even though I know these that you're giving me might fall under different stages. So we're going to choose, okay, I want to come in here and I want to create a checklist. So again, under the escrow stage, I want to create a checklist for that stage. Right now, I don't have any items on that checklist. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on add item, and then let's just go through. We're going to add some of these that you guys shared with me. So we are going to say for the first one that there we go, contract sent to attorney. And then we're just going to hit save, and you could just breeze through these, you guys. We're going to hit add item. We're going to say home inspection. We'll just put ordered, save. We're going to say, we'll just say that we received executed docs, save. And then I'll just do a couple more because I think you guys are understanding how this works. So we'll say that the lender, ordered appraisal. So we would just continue to come in and say, add to the checklist, add to the checklist, add to the checklist. Now we have this other option over here that says client update. So on each of these items, you get the option to say, okay, when we have done that, do I want the client to be updated when I check this as being completed? So remember, when we set up those client updates and settings, this is where it's feeding from that. And I can edit, delete the checklist item right here. I can move the checklist items up and down. So if one of them is more important, I can do that as well. So we're going to add those 4 to our checklist. So we're under contract escrow. We're just going to hit save. And then you'll see this has changed, that we now have a checklist. We have 4 items on that checklist. So you essentially would be able to go in and for every single stage, you create the checklist just for that stage. You just do it once, and then the checklist is always there. So any questions from anyone on just creating the checklist? Can you put, yeah, Kathleen, I love that. Can you put dates on when the checklist item is due? I'm going to walk you through that right now because that's a really great feature. So let's take a look at, we've got some fake ones in here. So we'll work with Laura Posey and her listing. So does everybody see how we're in escrow? We've got this listing right here. And then underneath this, now I have that checklist that has magically appeared because we just added that checklist to it. So I have the ability to click right here on checklist, and then you'll see this is the checklist that we just put together. The contract sent to the attorney, home inspection ordered, received executed docs, and the lender ordered appraisal. I've got options over here where I can assign this. So if you're working in here as an admin, you can come in here and you can say, I want this to be assigned to this person on the team. And then I can even give that assign a date. So I can set a due date directly in here of when that is due. They will receive that as a task. They will also see it when they are looking at all of the details right here. So I can just give that nice date of when that's due right there. I can also click on view opportunity details directly from here and see that. And then again, this is where I can say, okay, I want the client updated. So the way that this works is if I say I want the client to be updated when the lender has ordered the appraisal, when the home inspection, maybe I want all of these things, right? And then I say, I've completed this, I've completed this, I've completed this. So here's the way the system works. If I check off and say, this is done, this is done, this is done, and this is done, and I want the client to be updated, they're going to receive one email of all of these items as being completed today. And it comes in a really beautiful, I'll actually show you guys. It's a really nice email that is sent out. Give me 1 second just to show it to you. Tanya, you can add notes under discussion, which is one of my favorite features, and I'll show you guys that in just a moment. So the client update, if I just pull that up real quick. This is what it looks like. If it's a listing, we're going to have a photo of the listing right here. If it's not a listing, if it was a buyer, we won't have a photo of the home, but it would just be a bit more condensed. They wouldn't know that it was supposed to be there. This would be branded with the team information up here. This would be the client's name. So Sally Seller, we're checking things off the list. Here's a summary of tasks completed for, and then it would have the address. And then down here, it would say, we've received the executed docs. The lender has ordered the appraisal. We've submitted everything to the attorney for review. So whatever you've put in as that checklist item, it would have all of those items. Then again, at the bottom, it would be branded to the team. So this is such a powerful feature because we understand, especially in the market we're in today, communication is so important and it's such a swift and a fast moving market. That I believe we as agents have the best intentions of always keeping our clients up to date with everything that's going on. This does it automatically for you. So literally a click of a button and then everything is sent out. Kathleen, can you put dates that auto-populate so you aren't putting dates on every opportunity? Yeah, so Kathleen, that's absolutely a really big feature request that we're hearing. So that's in framework of hopefully an update that we will have in future versions. So not at this time, you do have to put the dates in there, but great feedback that I'll definitely take to the developers. So thank you so much for that. Let me see, I'm just checking chat to make sure. Any questions from anyone on just the checklist? It's such a fantastic feature. I really love it. So let's take a look at, we're going to go back into our listings that we have. We're just going to go back into that same listing and be using that. And I noticed I had a question about notes. So this is where I love discussions. This is kind of an under the radar feature that was released around family reunion this year that I just think is fantastic. So when I come into the opportunity, I just clicked directly on the opportunity. And a lot of you are probably very common with this screen because this is how we get into the documents. This is how we get into the offers, the commissions. This is how we see all of that. We've got this notes section over here, which is where we can add any notes. But what I actually really love is the discussion tab up here. So it just looks like a little chat bubble. We've got discussion. And then it tells you nobody has said anything yet. So we're going to create a discussion. And so I'm logged in right now as the Rainmaker. So if I were to come up here and say test message from Rainmaker, and I'm going to hit, can I even add that now? I might be able to add a photo now. That might be new. And then I can hit, let's test this out on the fly, you guys. Perfect. So if I wanted to add a photo or something, I could do that. There we go. So it's a nice little message feed that I can enter here. I can even do this a thumbs up. I can add another message. I can pin this to the top. So imagine as admin, if you could go into the discussion and maybe you have some sort of file of this is the home inspector we want to use. This is the right of all of these different things or whatever you guys want to put, you could put that in there. You could pin that to the top. I can even come in here and I can, let me just do this real quick. If I do the @ symbol, I'll see anybody that is involved in this transaction, and I can add even my admin, anybody like that to the discussion so they can see all of this. So as a Rainmaker, you could come in here because you see everything, and so you could message like, where are we on this or whatever it is. So all of the communication can be kept here in the discussion, which I really, really love. So that's a new feature that I would definitely check out. The other thing that I love is over here right underneath discussion, and that's the timeline. And so I understand that sometimes as an admin or as a Rainmaker, we just want to see everything that's happened with the transaction so far. I can come in here and I can see anything that has happened. So anything that your buyer's agent or listing agent, every single thing that has happened with this transaction. And so we can come in here at any time and take a look at that. We could even filter this down over on the left. So if I want to say what's happened in the last 7 days, what type of opportunity or activity type rather did we have? And then who completed these activities. So I want to see specifically what the buyer's agent has been doing here versus myself as the Rainmaker. I can see all of those details here under timeline, which I really love for that. Any questions from anyone or best practices, or if we want to just chat about everything we've kind of talked about so far? Checklist, the discussion, the timeline. Do I have any questions? Just checking the chat over here. Good. Okay. I would encourage you guys, checklists are huge. So you probably have some sort of checklist that you're using right now. A lot of times I see that people are using like a Google spreadsheet, or they might be using something else, but just take the time. Remember, it's just a one-time setup. And then I should mention, I'll go back into this opportunity. Let's say that for this opportunity, we have the checklist that is assigned to the opportunity, but this is a luxury seller. So there's additional things that I want to make sure I'm adding just as a one-off to this. I can come in at any time and add that item just to this particular opportunity. So maybe this one, we just need a bit more that we're doing for the seller. I can come in and add that here as well, which is just really nice. And then again, you'll get into documents through here, offers and commissions through here as well. So I'm in a Rainmaker's account. So I want to just take a look at, a lot of times what I hear from a Rainmaker is I want to see just like at a glance what's happening with everybody on my team. And this is really nice. We've got some great features for this. So I'm in the team account. And so you'll see I've got everything that's happening here under my team. And then up here, I've got this little toggle, this drop-down menu that says all assignees. And so that's going to show me every single person that is on my team here. Oh, hang on one second, it's just loading. Everybody that's on my team. So if I want to see, show me specifically what my buyer's agent is doing, like anything like that, I can toggle this down. So I'm going to take off everybody here, and I'm just going to keep this one agent. and then be able to click on that. And then I can just see everything that this one agent has in their pipeline. I can see their GCI, I can see their ratio, I can see everything. I can even see their closings that they have for this month. So I can see all of this at a glance. So this up here as a Rainmaker, for them to be able to log in and to see all of the activities and all of the details and everything that's in the pipeline is really, really nice at that one glance. They can also come up here and they can click on all discussions. And so if we've created those discussions, at a glance, they can come in here and see all of those and see anything that they might have unread or anything they need to be looking at for that. So this is a new feature, this all discussions tab that I really like for an admin or a Rainmaker or really anybody on the team to be able to look at any time for that. Any questions from anyone on any of that? We're good. Okay. The other thing that I want to show you, this is one of my favorite features. So I actually received an email from an agent about this the other day. So I just want to make sure we have clarification and clarity on that. So when I'm looking at my pipeline, you'll see that I've got all of these. So I've got 55 listings that I'm cultivating. This is a very busy team. And then I've got 5 appointments, 25 active listings, 11 under contract, and I have 0 closings. Now, if I scroll down, I see that I do have closings that are closing this month. Here's the deal with your pipeline here, because sometimes I hear, well, I had a closing and it's not showing up in my command. So these closings fall off after transmittal. So your MCA transmits by the 3rd business day of every month. So if you had a closing that closed in March, you would see that that closing would be right here. And then at the end of March, once they've transmitted, you'll notice that this always goes right back down to 0. This, we want to have like the purest pipeline that we're looking at. So those closings will fall off because that closing has already happened. So think of this as like, what do I have closing this month is essentially how we're using that. Now I do get the question then of, well, how can I find all of my closings? So at the top up here, we've got all opportunities. So this takes me to my opportunities that are in my pipeline. But if I want to look at any opportunities that I've archived or any opportunities that I've marked as a lost opportunity or any opportunities that have closed, I can do that by clicking on the tab up here that says all opportunities. And then we're probably going to have a lot in here, 133. Now I can like change this to be able to show 20 up to 75 at a time. But here's what I really like. I love these filters right up here. So this is very similar to if you've ever filtered, ever used the filter option in the contacts applet, it works the same way. So I can click on filters and I can say what type of essentially opportunity do I want to see? So I just want to see my closed opportunities. And then I want them to be team opportunities. I can even search by show me all the opportunities I've had with this one particular contact, show me the opportunities that have this one tag associated with it, show me who it's assigned to, show the owner, show the closing date. I can do any sort of custom date range. I can do anything like that. And then once I hit apply, it's going to filter those opportunities down. But here's what I really like. Then I have the ability to come in and to set that as what we call a smart view. So imagine if you wanted to be able to come in at any time and say, show me all the closings that this agent on my team has had in the last 12 months. You'd be able to do that. You'd be able to create that and name that as a smart view. So you can do that for any member of your team and then just at a glance, come in here and say, show me Adam's transactions. And then anything that falls under that will pull up under that opportunity. I can also sort by clicking on anything up here, but this just, as you start to have so many opportunities and we want to be able to filter by and save those smart views, this under the all opportunities gives you a really nice ability to do that. So I would just think of, the way that I think of it is I like to work smarter, not harder. So if you find yourself like searching for the same type of opportunities more than once, let's just create a smart view around it. So let's say I want to see all of my closed opportunities and let's call that a smart view. I want to see all of, the opportunities that were closed by this buyer's agent and let's call it a smart view, because you can have unlimited smart views. And then at any time you can come in here and just pull all of those. So I love that. I think that's a really underutilized feature that can save a lot of time for you guys. All right, I'm going to keep it moving. This is actually the final thing that we'll look at. I want to talk about, let me go back into opportunities. Give me 1 second. I want to talk about a couple key dates that you might just, and this might be a training opportunity for agents on your team to just make sure that they're actually putting these dates in there. So we're going to go back into, we'll just go into the same listing. We'll go into that under contract listing. And I'm going to click directly on the listing. Okay, so we want to pay some close attention to making sure that we're filling out as much as we can in this general information, because there's this really great data in here if we're feeding it. So when I come in here and I see this general information, over here to the right of that, I have a little pencil that allows me to go in and edit. So hopefully you have your team members coming in and setting up their goals. And when they set up their goals, they can put how much money do I want to make this year? And then the system tells them this is how many leads you need. This is how many contacts you need. This is how many appointments you need to set. This is how many you need to keep. And this is how many you need to go under contract. And this is how many closings you need. There's two really important, or three rather, really important metrics when we go into the back of the opportunity that we want to make sure that the agents are entering. And this just might be a training opportunity for them. We want to make sure that they're entering when was the appointment scheduled. So I scheduled the appointment. I had the conversation today and we scheduled the appointment. So I'm going to say that the appointment was scheduled today. The appointment date, that is what day am I going on the appointment, is the 12th. The agreement was one that could be a listing agreement, meaning at the appointment, I took the listing, or it could be a buyer broker agreement, meaning I met with the buyers. They agreed to work with me. We're going to say that also happened on the listing appointment, which is in the future. The contract date. So when did we go under contract? This is a listing. When did we really go under contract? So we know that it was probably within 24 hours. So we'll say the 13th. And then when is it closing? So we'll say that that's maybe like 30 days out. So we don't know these metrics in the beginning, which is why when we're first creating an opportunity, these don't necessarily show up. But I encourage you to make sure that your agents are going in and filling this out, because by them doing this, it feeds into their goals. And so if they have entered their goals in command, which again is about 6 or 7 questions that I would encourage you as, you know, leading the team to have them do in part of like the agent intake, right? Because then we can come up here and we can take a look at the goals in the reporting section. Again, I'm in the Rainmaker, but I can take a look at all of my team members, or I can break it down. And so I can see how many leads have we received? How many contacts have we entered? How many appointments have we set? How many have we kept? Agreements under contract and closed. And I can say, let's look at the Rainmaker, right? And let's see specifically what the Rainmaker is doing. I can see all of that. Let's look at, we'll say this is the buyer's agent, right? We can see like they're killing it with contacts. But this, for your Rainmaker to be able to have that coaching consultation or have that conversation, this data is so important. So make sure that they're entering that on the back end, and make sure that they've even entered their goals, which they can do directly through here as well. Because then as the Rainmaker, we can also take a look at reports, and we can see our entire, this is like your business, right? So my entire listing opportunity overview. So how many listing opportunities do I have for my team? How many of those are new? We can take a look at what's in each phase here. Buyer opportunity as well. So we can see all of the details right here. We can even export it. We can even come down and say, show me just for this one agent, show me all of these different things. So reports and goals really work hand in hand with opportunities. So it's so important that they're just inputting as much data and details as they can into the opportunities for that. All right, so I'm gonna just pause there for a moment. Yeah, thanks, Tanya. Great question. So she asked, where will the recording be? So we put all of these recordings on, excuse me, the KW Carolina's YouTube channel. So if you just search, if you go to YouTube and you search for KW Carolinas, it'll come up. And then I actually have playlists. So I'll have a teams playlist where all of these will be. I usually get it up by end of day whenever we have this. So this will be there by end of day today. Will you be having a reports and goals class for agents? Sue, I definitely can. That's great feedback if you feel like that would be beneficial. Excuse me. Yeah. Best practices on how to use that. I'm putting May together. So maybe this would be a nice time. So that's great feedback. Thank you for that. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you guys today. I'd love to open it up if anybody has any questions or anything else that you wanted to discuss. Feel free to unmute yourself or drop in chat for any questions for that. My 3 biggest things for you would be, number 1, make sure you're taking a look at your settings. So go into the Rainmaker, take a look at the opportunity settings, make sure you have any tags there. Make sure, are you allowing agents on your team to create private opportunities? Just have that discussion and decide that. My second thing would be checklists. So checklist is going to take a little bit of time, but I think you'll find that once you have them set up, it's so nice how the checklists are automatically assigned. And then my third one would be really dive into discussions. So use that discussions tab. I just think it leaves everything nice in there, and we can kind of, rather than an email and a this and a that, like within internal discussions with the team, it's a really great feature. And then because I can't just keep it at 3, my 4th one would be goals. Does everybody that's on your team, have they inputted their goals? Are they tracking it? Because that, your Rainmaker, to be able to see that at a glance, I really think would benefit from that. So those would be my top 4 takeaways. We're a company of 1 things, and I gave you 4, but just some help for that. All right. So if that's it, you guys, if we don't have any questions, we'll end it there. Thank you all for your time. Thanks for being here with me on a Thursday. We appreciate you. And I look forward, hopefully we'll see you next Thursday for the next Teams class. Thank you guys so much.